Oryx stared at him. It took Yuli a moment to realize he was dead. Finally, he heaved the man over his shoulder and walked out to the front yard. There he saw an old sports car with only 2 seats. The keys were still in the ignition. "No, wait, for goodness sakes, please don't leave me here," Diane cried out faintly. He was about to drive off and just abandon the paralyzed lobbyist, but then remembered that she was the only person he had met there who mentioned routinely leaving the place. She had to know some way off the reservation. Heading back inside the barn, he scooped up Calder's limp body and carried her out. "Bless your soul, God bless you, sir. We have to get you and Oryx to a hospital right away," he said, pulling her up to the roof of the old car. "That retard's already dead. Help me and I'll get you $1 million. Yuli glanced around and spotted an old burlap sack slung over a laundry line running from a wooden post to the end of the barn. He pulled the cord down and grabbed the sack, which he slid under the corporate shill's skinny body. He tied the line tightly around Diane's left wrist, strung it through the windows, and knotted it to her other wrist so that she was pressed flat against the roof of the car. "What do you think you're doing?" "Underwood sent you to kill us," he answered while securing her legs. Letting out a deep sigh, she said, "You got it all wrong. He works for me. The only reason I'm here is to protect the company's interest in—" She cut herself off, realizing that in her agony she had imparted too much information. "How are you protecting its interest?" "Just making sure everything is running smoothly," she said simply. "I'll give you one chance. If I think you're lying, I'm feeding you to the pigs." "Oh, what the hell. I was sent in to sway the election, okay? The mayoral election? Fuck no, the presidential election. It's tightly split along party lines. I'm here to tilt it right." "Just how did you hope to do that?" "Oh, God. The 5 boroughs work almost like the Electoral College. Each borough gets a vote. 3 out of 5 boroughs throw a single Electoral College vote from Rescue City, Nevada to the presidential election. Do you really care about any of this?" "No," Yuli suddenly decided. "These people can kill each other for all I care. I just went out and undo my ropes, and within 30 minutes, I'll have you sitting in a jacuzzi in Vegas with 2 underage girls." That was the best offer he had since he found himself sleepwalking near the airport 2 days ago. "All right, where do we go?" "Just take me to the corner of 4th Street and 1st Avenue in Manhattan," she commanded. "Let's get the fuck out of Staten Island." As he began to untie the cord around her wrist, he looked into the car and saw Oryx's dead body propped up in the passenger seat. He had rescued Yuli yesterday from a geriatric mob in Sunset Park, and now this blonde bitch had brutally killed him. Yuli jumped into the sports car, turned the key, and hit the gas. In his rear view, as he left the compound, he saw a sign that read, "Calypso Pig Farm." Diane Calder began screaming from the roof of the car like a human siren. "Treason! Treason!" After 20 minutes of bouncing over the dunes of Staten Island, following rusty signs directing him to Manhattan, crisscrossing streams of wastewater along Highland Boulevard, he had to clamp his nose due to the stench. Driving past the rows of gorgeously designed buildings he had heard about, situated along the banks of the borough, he saw that they were indeed uninhabitable. Some were still submerged up to their roof, evidence of how high the sewage water had risen. He soon reached a 2-lane ramp marked Staten Island Ferry Bridge. The wooden structure swayed as he drove from submerged foundation to submerged foundation. The guardrail was a string of rotten 2x4s. Fearing he would skid right off the aging planks into the toxic waters, Yuli slowed to a crawl. To the southeast, he spotted a short, arching red bridge connecting Staten Island to Brooklyn. Nearer to his right, a dark angle of land narrowed to a point, then turned into a tall, reinforced concrete wall. The liquid sewage reached almost to the top of it. Below him, the black muck oozed south from the western side of Manhattan. Yuli sped through lower Manhattan, ignoring the passing motorists, who gawked at the screaming blonde who roped like a deer to the roof of his car. He made his way onto Houston, turned right on 1st Avenue, and screeched to a halt at the corner of 4th Street in front of a building with a shingle that read, "Class A Lady Hotel." "Is this where you live?" he asked. getting out of the sports car with Orrick's motionless body still slumped forward in the passenger seat. You think I'm evil because I work for a corporation, but let me set you straight, mister, she said, spitting bugs out of her mouth. Everything great and powerful about this nation was made not in the halls of Congress, but by the laissez-faire system. Corporate interests are American interests. Just tell me what to do to get the hell out of here. Upstairs in my hotel room, on my bedside table, is a piece of paper with a phone number. Call it, tell him where I am, and I'll have you out of here tonight. What's your room number? She glared at him uncertainly. I smell a crapper. Untie me and carry me up there. That's absurd. At that moment, a large man in a city council police department uniform turned the corner and walked toward them. Help, please, Diane started to scream. Yulie kissed her hard on her bright red lips. The officer walked past without even noticing that the woman was strapped to the roof of the car, or that a dead man was slumped in the passenger seat. So what room are we in? He asked again as he frisked her for her key. I'm not telling you shit, asshole. For the first time, Yulie noticed a strange bump on the front of Diane's neck. He tapped it gently. What do you think you're doing? How come I didn't see that before? See what? You have an Adam's apple. What are you talking about? Yulie reached around behind her legs, lifted up her skirt, and pulled her panties aside, revealing a set of small pink testicles. He didn't know how he could have missed it before. The lobbyist was a transvestite. High crimes! High crimes! Her voice had been growing deeper since her injury. Yulie pulled the burlap sack out from under her and shoved the end of it into her mouth, slipping the rest of it over her head and torso. Ignoring her muffled cries, he entered the lobby of her grungy hotel. Thank you. Any questions? Anyone want to say anything about Heath Ledger? Well, thanks for coming on this cold night. I appreciate it. And,
this goes back and forth between Las Vegas and the actual New York that was destroyed? Is that
well, the second book actually kind of goes back into time, but I mean it goes back to New York. But this book is all situated in this kind of reinvented, New York City in the middle of the Nevada desert. So yeah, but it has a bigger backstory that just deals with. I mean, it was a very interesting time for America in as much as, especially in as much as it parallels today with, I mean, the beginning, when this begins, Nixon's in office and Vietnam is kind of going on, and, it's, and there were, domestic terrorist organizations, like the Weather Underground and, the Panthers and so forth, versus, foreign terrorist organizations that we have now, and the question of civil liberties was kind of, out there, and so, I mean, but it has a fairly it's a fairly fast-paced story, so, but in any case.